So raise your hand if you're an adrenaline junkie. My hand's up, just in case you haven't noticed, right? So before I understood any of this stuff, right, in order to feel more energized, so if you're have adrenal exhaustion, right, adrenal exhaustion, and you feel tired, and you feel sleepy, you feel worn out, you feel wiped out, whatever it is, even a couple of hours after you wake up, and without realizing the dangers or understanding any of this, you do know that if something gives you an emotional jolt, you feel better. So that's how I became an adrenaline junkie. Now, luckily, I'm smart enough and safety-oriented enough that I didn't do anything crazy. But I watched my best friend in high school crash and burn. And I've seen this again and again with people. Really fun people, really exciting people, talented, smart people become adrenaline junkies, and really it's a terrible downward spiral. So you have to be very, very careful. There's a very simple test that you can take at home for a couple $100, and I'll happily tell you all about it. We've talked about it in previous shows, where you can take the test at home, send in the results to the lab, and you will find out exactly what's going on with your adrenal cortisol, your neurotransmitters, and it will also send you a recommendation of the supplements that will help. If you are listening to the show and this reminds you of you, you want to do this.
And Susan, I have discussed this serious matter with some people, and they tend to think that, oh, life would be too flatline living if I, neutralized this.
Right, because these are people who don't understand about herbal supplements. They remember medication. So you just need to get an education about this. This is new for you. Fine. I know all about it. There is a lot of information on the internet. If you're assessing a benefit based on what was true 20 years ago, you're making a big mistake. If you're assuming that you know, and we're talking about a very dangerous dynamic here. So if you're assuming you know, I have this in the work I do with seniors. I will say, well, I think what would probably be great for your relative is such and such, and I'll show you a few of those. And they say, oh no, we heard something, something. So, well, I have a feeling you haven't kept up with information that was true about 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So when you hear somebody speaking about something new, whether it's me, Gigi, or anyone else, you want to really assess, do I have the latest data? Have I researched this myself? That will make all the difference. We're talking about saving your life here. This will make all the difference.
Oh, wonderful. Healthy living, absolutely. And so why is it impossible for people to actually think about the past and avoid all the horrible results that happened in the past? And when they make a dangerous choice?
Well, again, this is really the whole brain chemistry problem. So, for example, I'm going to read some things from this article. I think we've got enough time. So, the effects of a stressful experience, such as making a speech, are evident not only during the event, but also often in the next hour or so. And when stressors are constantly present, or anxiety about possible stress is high, which I told you, stress levels may become chronically elevated. In both studies, stress-enhanced learning from positive feedback was possible, but impaired the learning that you need if you're going to avoid negative things happening in the future. So here's the deal. So you gamble and you win. Odds are against it, but this one time you do. So you make a decision, gambling good, not gambling bad, in the caveman sense of it. Why? That's the way the brain is wired for many, many people. Now, you go and you gamble. God forbid somebody gambles their mortgage money. We know people do this. They don't have the ability to learn from the problem, the error, the disaster, the mistake. Their husband or wife divorces them. It's not the first time they did that. Now, they not only don't have the mortgage money, they don't have a life partner. Maybe they don't have a place to live anymore. It goes from worse to worse. You would think that a person could learn from that. But what this scientific data tells us, people have a better option, most of them, to learn from something good that happens and have far bigger problems learning when something bad happens. Brain chemistry, brain wiring, nothing to do with how smart you are.
Another reality check.
Huge, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I know there's even a stage fright test about stress, which is about how scared most people are about public speaking, though obviously we are immune to this. and there's an ice water test. What about these tests and decision making?
Okay, again, I'm reading from the article. In the ice water test was participants holding their hand in ice water. That's called a cold pressor stress. Public speaking test, the participants have to anticipate and then give a speech. And there's another third one, which would actually drive us crazy, where they have to do difficult mental arithmetic in front of an audience. So just in advance, no, we're not doing it even if we're not with an audience, right? There's no way we're going to be able to do difficult mental, arithmetic problems, right? And do it in your head. You don't even get paper. Okay. But the point is that both studies found that the effects of stress on reinforcing learning were the same for men and women and for adults and older adults. And this is unusual. So these two situations, it was the same. But what they found is, across the board, most other cases, the increased dopamine, this is the feel-good brain chemistry, that comes from stress should facilitate, make it easier for you to learn when there's a reward, but not when there's a punishment. So again, make a note. So if you crash into a car, you should be able to learn not to drive when you've had a glass of wine, or not to drive under other circumstances when you're tired, whatever it may be, or not to go to that Trader Joe's with the impossible parking lot. Go to another one, right? Go to the one, on Fairview. It's really easy to park. Go to the new one on Milpas. Don't go to the one in San Roque. Just saying. But people will not easily learn from something terrible that happens.
That's good information.
Yeah.
Boy, think about that one. Now, how does the scientific proof give us a new understanding of soldiers?
Well, it's just really interesting. They are adrenaline junkies. Don't say that to a friend who's a soldier. They won't really appreciate it. But why does somebody decide to go to war when, in fact, we know that a lot of them will be maimed or killed? You watch the news, people are leaving for a war, or they've just returned from a war with injury, or during the presidential campaign, the Wounded Warrior Project was doing lots and lots of ads, and they do wonderful work. They do spectacular work. That's not the point. The point is, what motivates somebody to go in a non-war situation where there is no draft? And I am telling you, because I have studied this for a long time, it is adrenaline addiction. Adrenaline addiction. I had a client who asked me to work with her son, and her son had so many career problems at the time. And so he said he was thinking of joining the Army. And I went very quietly, silently insane, because his mother is a good friend of mine and a client of mine. So I said to him, I was very confused when I heard him say that. Was there a particular reason he didn't like his arms or his legs? What do you mean, he said. I said, well, if you think that the idea of being a soldier is exciting, and it's very courageous of you to even contemplate such a thing, I'm just a little bit surprised because you're a handsome young guy, and you do know that a lot of soldiers are fatally injured and die. A lot of soldiers are mortally injured and never recover. And he had literally not been able to think that through. He's a college graduate, smart guy. He had not been able to think it through because this is the kind of guy that, as a kid, would jump off the terrace into the swimming pool. And you know, there's no swimming pool directly under any terrace, right? Except on a stage set. So he had done some very risky things because he's an adrenaline addict. He worked with me, he took the test, he took the supplements. His mother and I kind of corralled him. He got a better job and made more money, got a better job and made more money, got a better job and made more money based on the skills I taught him. And now, I swear to you, he would not even remember that this was an idea he had.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And he's in one piece.
Oh, one piece.
Well, we still salute all of you soldiers that
That's right.
serve us.
That's right.
Okay, Susan, what is the best way to solve stress once we have it?
You've got to learn either self-empathy or meditation or both. I do both, you know? Now, yoga is not meditation. You can meditate before or after yoga. Yoga is not meditation. It's moving around. Meditation is when you don't move at all and you have been trained to silence your mind and let the thoughts just go by and you don't catch on to any of them. It takes a long time. It took me 20-odd years to be able to do that. And that's not unusual. It can take people, you know, a lifetime to learn to meditate. So what else did I say? I said self-empathy. So much faster, so much easier, you know. I'm in the car and the car is spinning around, you know, I'm feeling so scared and I need to live. Breathe. I'm feeling so shocked and I need to understand what happened. Breathe. I'm feeling so worried and I need to be very, very calm. Breathe. I'm feeling blah, 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 and da, 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 and boom. And I was doing this while the car was spinning and I was fine. I was present.
Oh, wonderful. We're happy about that.
Thank you.
Now, what have you found are the best ways to actually avoid stress?
Avoid stress. So look very carefully at your schedule. Figure out what you can handle in a day. Figure out and plan your life. For years, while I was going through the healing process from adrenal exhaustion, I created one of the very first coaching programs over the phone. Nobody had heard of that before. They were coming from the therapeutic model of psychiatrists and psychologists where you have to have an office and people show up, and much too stressful for me. I could never have done that. So I created a coaching model where I was just on the phone. And everything that I did, I created in such a way so that I could handle stress and the exhaustion that's a result of stress and also contribute and make a living and, you know, make a difference. 20 years before that in fashion, I invented something called a design company. And people would say, oh, you're a freelance designer. No, I have a design company. What's the difference? Well, a freelance designer works for you and then doesn't work for you and then works for somebody else. That's one client at a time. I couldn't afford that. You don't make enough money. So I created a design company. 1 year I had 26 clients at a time. Where did I do all of it? Most of my design work I did in bed at home because I was getting over adrenal exhaustion.
Beautiful. We have 3 minutes left, and I have an important question. Okay.
Yes.
Get to it quickly. Can you describe what you do at the end of each day to make sure you are in a peaceful state as possible?
Most of the problems you have and I have and anybody has is with other people, right? Because remember that money is always OPM, other people's money. So every money situation you have, the money you get from someone else, another human being or organization run by people. So it isn't that you have a money problem, you have a people problem. So if you know the cutting the cord exercise, it's brilliant. And you just close your eyes and imagine that other person, whoever it is, and you make your hand into a scissor. And we know spiritually that all humans are connected with this invisible silver cord, front and back. And you just imagine yourself cutting the cords away from you and whoever that person is that you're imagining in front of you. And you just do it a few times. And you just start to relax. If I were doing this, I would have my eyes closed if I weren't on TV. And then you do the same thing on your back, and remember your back curves that way. So again, you imagine who that other person is, and you cut the cord around your back, and you do that a couple of times. And that is astounding. The results people have reported to me based on this is amazing. But you have to do it regularly, and you have to do it with all of them. So do it every night. It's great.
Wonderful. That is wonderful. You taught me that a long time ago.
She's up there every night.
I really cut
like
up.
a lobster, right?
Well, we know that stress is part of life, and we know that we must really work hard to avoid as much of our stress as possible. However, we also need to have a lot of practice getting the stress out of our bodies and making sure that we are actually healthy and peaceful too. And so I'd like to suggest to you that you should contact our Susan for that amazing gift of 1 hour that she offers for free on the telephone. How comfy is that if you want to learn to avoid and handle stress in your own life? Quite a gift. And now, Susan, I know you have a special announcement for tomorrow. Would you help us with that?
Yes. For those of you who are interested in love, which is Gigi and my favorite subject, tomorrow morning I am doing a radio show with my other good friend, Marla Martinson, who's in Los Angeles. The show is going to be about love from lifetime to lifetime. I am also very, very much an expert in this topic. And Fred is putting the link on the screen for us. And it's going to be an amazing show. And you can call in and you can ask us questions. So that makes it even more fun because, do me a favor, when the producer asks you what the question is, please have something rational and something that's not going to mortify everybody, right? Because Gigi and I have been through that. That's why we don't do call-ins anymore. But this should be really fun. And it's on love from lifetime to lifetime.